Good afternoon, everyone. My
Hi,
name is Sarah Nelson.
Hi everyone, and I'm Jill Kanitzer. We're just waiting for a few more minutes to see if other people join us. So during that time, if you just think about any questions you might have about the RTI All Staff Perception Survey, and for those of you that were registered as of a couple of days ago, I sent you your SIR username and password. But if you don't have it, you could chat us in the chat box and we'll get that to you. Also, if anyone's having technical difficulties, if you start having trouble with your audio, having trouble hearing, please be sure to chat us that information as well. We're only going to keep our webcams on for a little bit because we do know sometimes that eats up bandwidth and then makes the audio difficult. We just wanted to make sure you knew that there actually were real people on the other side of your computer. Well, Sarah, what do you think? You think we're ready to get started?
Sure, let's get started.
All right.
Welcome again, everyone.
Yeah, and once again, I'm Jill Kanitzer, and I'm with Sarah Nelson, and we're just really pleased that you can join us to learn more about the RTI All Staff Perception Survey. And we are recording this so that we can put this on our website so that other schools can gain the information on how to launch the RTI All Staff Perception Survey. As we go, if you have questions, if there's anything you need, just make sure to chat that in your chat box or put it in your question box, and Sarah and I will reply as best as possible that we can and as quickly as possible. So with that, let's get started.
Again, we're thrilled that you joined us today, and we hope that you find this tool something that can assist you in making some decisions regarding your multi-level system of support implementation. So again, thanks for joining us.
And what we're going to go through today is we're going to talk about the purpose of the RTI All Staff Perception Survey. We'll help you log in to RTI self-assessments, and then we'll just pause a moment for any troubleshooting questions if you're running into problems. And then we'll take you through how to set up your RTI All Staff Perception Survey. So you'll have one set up by the end of this session. And my session has slowed down, so I'm going to shut my webcam off now at this time. Okay. And then after we set up your RTI All Staff Perception Survey, we'll talk about how you collect results. Again, pause for a moment for questions. Then we'll take you through a little bit of the analysis of your results. So the purpose of the RTI All Staff Perception Survey, one of the things that's really nice about it is at the beginning of the survey, everyone who takes it, they're actually given the information about the purpose of it. So that's why I have this little picture at the bottom here, just so you know that as your staff are taking this survey, they will be given this information as well. But so you know the purpose of it is, first of all, is to assess perceptions of RTI implementation in your school. And it asks questions in 4 domains. And these 4 domains are high quality instruction, balanced assessments, collaboration, and leadership and organizational structures.
Jill?
Yep.
This is Sarah. Just so you know, I am not able to, I'm still on the welcome slide right now. I'm not sure if that's what our participants are seeing, but I only can see the welcome slide right now, and it's not in slideshow mode. Are you in slideshow mode right now?
I am.
Okay. That is interesting.
Sarah, do you happen to have the PowerPoint opened on your laptop?
I do not.
Okay.
I just have the one open.
Because I could change it to you as the presenter if, because I wonder if it's something with my bandwidth all of a sudden.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone else is having. Yes, me too.
Yep.
Only can see one screen. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to try to find it, Jill, okay?
Okay. Okay, that's really weird. Sorry about this, folks. I'm not quite sure why GoToWebinar is doing that right now. Let me try this. By any chance, has it changed?
Hang on a minute. I'm downloading the other one just in case. Yes, it's changed.
Okay, that's good. So can everyone see the purpose of the survey slide? Sarah, can you see that?
Yes.
All right. Great. So I apologize for that, folks. So this, like I said, this information is at the beginning of the survey. So for all your staff, they'll be able to see the purpose of the survey. And this as well, that this survey is used for all decision making. It should be used for decision making and action planning in your school. It helps you identify staff awareness of RTI implementation, because we know that even if a leadership team plans RTI implementations, all staff may not be aware of every detail of that implementation. So that's why the All Staff Perception Survey helps gather that information. As I mentioned, it compares the leadership team to the staff perceptions. It can also assess progress of staff awareness. For example, I was just talking with a middle school the other day, and they said that they did a baseline as they were beginning their implementation by gathering their all staff perception survey. They thought that would be a good data for them as they started. And this would be considered a supplement to your school-wide implementation review, which is called your SIR. So the way you log in is you want to log in to something called RTI self-assessments. So you can do this right along with us if you want to. Also, just if you don't want to do that today, you will notice that if you go to handouts on GoToWebinar right now, if you go to that,
in the right-hand sidebar,
and you'll see in handouts there is a copy of the PowerPoint. So if you don't want to actually follow along right now, you could download this PowerPoint and then you would have this. Or if you're going to facilitate this with all of your schools in your district, if you're a district office person, you could use this PowerPoint to facilitate this with all of your schools. So the way you access the RTI All Staff Perception Survey is you go to www.wisconsinrticenter.org. You will come to a website that looks similar to this, and you will click on Getting Started.
So we'll give you about 10 seconds here to just make sure that you've accessed the right page before we go through the next slides.
Okay, once you click on Getting Started, then you'll see Self-Assessment Tools. The link come up in the left-hand column, so you can click on that. If you've taken the SIR in the past or facilitated the SIR in the past, this is the same way you get to the SIR. And then when you get to the RTI Self-Assessments page, if you scroll down, you'll see a big green button that says RTI Self-Assessments. Once you get into the assessments, you're going to want to actually do a school login. You'll also notice there's a district login available. If you log in using a district login, you can only see the results of the assessments that were taken throughout all the schools in your district. Assessments are taken through a school login, and one of the ways you can see the reports is through the district login. So you don't ever take assessments with a district login. You always take assessments with a school login. And I know some of you are central office staff, and that's why I make sure to note that for some of you, you would sometimes log in with your district login if you're central office staff, so that you can look at all of your schools, so you can plan professional development across all of your schools. But if you're a school staff, you would log in through your school login because you can see your reports specific to your school and take your assessments there. So then once you click login, this is where you will actually enter your school's username and password. And you'll notice that if you don't have your login information, you can request it by clicking here. So I think most of you we've provided them to prior to this webinar starting, but you can always do this. You can click here and it accesses our database and it will auto-generate a school login and email and send it to the principal of that school. The problem is of course that we know we have some turnover in school staff. So if the principal is changed, it might not show the current principal. So that's why we say if you need further assistance, please contact your regional technical assistance coordinator. For example, I'm one of the West technical assistance coordinators. So I support schools in CSIS 4, 10, and 11. So I could easily then look up your password, your username and password for you, and I can help update the database by getting the new principal's information in there. And that's the same thing that Sarah can do for the North region. So if you don't have your school's username and password, you can always do a demo, and you would use user and pass if you want to look at the demo information. And under the demo, if you log in under that, you can, if you start a SIR or you start an RTI all staff survey, that's fine to do that in this demo one. I do know we have some CISA staff, so if this is something you want to do, you want to start a demo one or look at the demo, please feel free to do that under the user and pass login. Then you should get to where you actually see the survey, the assessments, and you'll notice across the top there are 3 tabs: the school-wide implementation review, the RTI all staff perception survey, and school reports. So if you were taking your SIR, you would stay under the main tab that we come to, but because we're talking about the RTI all staff perception survey, you would click on that tab to get to that. You can also click on school reports when you're ready to start to look at all of your reports. Okay, so I just wanted to take a moment here. If you have questions, you can put them in the question box or put them in the chat box. If there's problems that you're running into, just wanted to pause for a moment here and see if we can help you out with any of the details. All right. So then once you switch to the RTI All Staff Perception Survey tab, you should see the new school RTI All Staff Perception Survey. You can click on that and you will generate a new survey. We recommend schools do this once a year. We're offering this webinar this fall because fall is typically the time schools would do the RTI All Staff Perception Survey. If you're a PBIS implementing school, this would be similar to the SAS. And a lot of PBIS schools would take the SAS in the fall like this. So the RTI All Staff would be a good time to do that as well. So you'll notice then the next screen comes up with a bunch of information that you need to put in. We'll walk you right through what you would enter. First, as far as your date range for start and end dates, most schools that we talk with usually plan only about a week for their date range. Many times they offer the survey during a staff meeting, and so they know exactly which week it would be offered in. Also, there is a tendency if you make your window too large, like a month like it is here, staff might think, oh, well, I'll do that later, and then they forget and just don't get around to it. So we encourage you to be as precise as you can with setting your date range.
This is a little different than the school-wide implementation review tool, where when you create that tool, you have 30 days from the start when you create that tool to the completion of the SIR. So this is a little different option for you where you get to select that start and that end date versus the SIR.
And then you need to decide what content lens you'd like a staff to think about as they're taking this survey, reading or mathematics.
And you can do it for both. You just would create two different RTI all-staff self-assessment surveys.
And then you need to decide who's going to take the survey. Is it going to be all of your staff, including administrators? Is it going to be all of your staff without administrators? Or are you making some other decisions? Like an example we get asked is, should we include custodians, cooks? Because I think in the SAS, if you're a PBIS implementing school, you would include staff like the bus drivers, custodians, cooks. I would suggest that you want to choose staff that would have information relevant to your RTI implementation. So many times staff like cooks and bus drivers do know information about PBIS implementation, but they may not know anything about your RTI implementation. So you may decide not to include them. But if you're going to, I would encourage you to use other and then describe who all are the people that you will include in this survey. And how many staff will be given this survey for completion, that only needs to be an approximation. It doesn't have to be exactly how many staff will be given the survey for completion. Just your best estimate. So then you have to decide how you're going to distribute the survey, and you can choose as many options as you want. Are you going to email out a link? Are you going to print out and do a hard copy and then have the data hand entered? Are you going to do this during a staff meeting? Or how will you actually distribute this survey? And it may take more than one method of communicating this and distributing it based upon your staff and the needs in your school. And then at the very end, you check, I have read the directions for creating a survey, and you would create your survey. So then you should see that your survey is created, and you'll see your RTI All Staff Perception Survey. This one was created for reading. And now we need to manage our survey so that we can distribute it. So you would click Manage Your Survey. And what you'll do is you'll see that you have a link to your survey, and you can copy and paste that link. If you're going to use a PowerPoint at a staff meeting, you could copy and paste that link into a PowerPoint, or you could copy and paste it into an email that you're going to customize yourself. Or we actually have an email that you can use. You'll notice that survey email, view email body text. You can click that, and then you could just cut and paste that email body text, hopefully adding your full name and title, or your principal's full name and title, and then you'll be able to cut and paste that into your email program and send out to the staff that you want to take this.
And you'll notice that there's the date there for when to complete the survey by, from the date that you entered in a previous screen.
So when you actually collect the results from staff, and this also is provided to them as they start this survey, you want to encourage them to complete this independently, this survey, all in one sitting. It does take 10 to 20 minutes. Please reassure them that this is anonymous. You don't get any results back that are associated with individual staff members. And also encourage staff to think about what's their experience in the school, in the content area that you're surveying. Not what other people have told them, but their own experience that they've seen and learned about in their school, not just what they might have heard reference to that might be happening or might not be happening. And again, this information is provided in the survey itself. When staff take this, then they will have statements like you see down in the bottom in the center. There's a statement that says delivery of universal curriculum and instruction is determined by grade level course benchmarks. And what they will do is they'll first assess their current status. They'll decide, is this in place, partially in place, or not in place? And then for that statement, they'll decide, and what's my priority for that? Is that a high priority? Is that a medium priority? Is that low priority? So they'll go through the statements and do both for each statement.
For those of you who are familiar with the school-wide implementation review, the priority side is a little bit different from what you're used to, but will pertain some great information for you to bring back to your leadership team. We're now going to just give you a minute and see if there's any questions.
So I think it looks like everybody, we just have one person that still has in trouble with login, but we're decided we're going to take care of that at the end. So we're going to talk about then the reports. So each time, as the survey is being taken, say over that week, you can always log in to the self-assessments, just like we did at the beginning part of this, and you will see your login like this, and you can manage your survey or you can view your reports. Because we're talking about reports right now and analysis, you would click View Report. And you'll see a report that one of them looks like this. So you'll actually see the line items and what staff said as far as in place, partially in place, or not in place. And you'll see the priorities staff have on each of those line items. So for example, in this school, you can see that the statement provided in addition to the universal curriculum for students exceeding a defined benchmark, they see that that's right now their lowest priority in this high quality instruction area. That's what staff are reporting. Whereas they see that their grade level course benchmarks are a high priority based on the Wisconsin state standards is their highest priority. Differentiation is a high priority, and review for quality and effectiveness is a high priority. So they're clearly in this school working on their universal instruction according to the perception of their staff. So then you can take those reports and you can also compare them to your school-wide implementation review. To do that, you would click on School Reports. So that's back to where those 3 tabs are. Click on School Reports. And then what you want to do is you want to decide, well, are we talking about reading or are we talking about math? You would want to use the reading detailed reports or the math detailed reports, especially if you've only done these assessments once. If you've taken these assessments, the SIR or the RTI All Staff multiple times, that's when you want to start to access the progress reports for either reading or mathematics. So we're going to go into some of those detailed reports for reading. And you can see that comes up the number of times you've taken the SIR and the all staff. So for example, in this school, we clicked on the reading SIR that they took in 2014 and compared it to the all staff that they took in 2013. And then we run the report. And we get a report that looks like this. We've added the pink arrows for emphasis, but otherwise you get a report that looks similar to this. The top is the school-wide implementation review, the SIR report, and the bottom is their all-staff report. You will see that the red bars on the top include are the first time this school took the SIR, and the blue bar is the second time this school took the SIR. So some of the things I noticed when I look at this is I noticed that the SIR, which was taken by the leadership team up here at the top, that high quality instruction universal is their highest bar. It's in initial implementation. That's where that pink arrow is pointing on the top. But when I look at the all staff at the bottom, the pink arrow is also pointing to high quality instruction universal. Their report, that's not the highest bar, according to all the rest of the staff. They say it's partially in place, but they see that leadership and organizational structures down towards the right, the third bar from the right, that's the highest bar. So for this school, it's very interesting that the rest of the staff is seeing, I would see that as very affirming to the leadership team in this school, that the rest of the staff is seeing that the leadership team is making decisions and guiding them in the right direction, building their structure. But they don't see yet that the high quality instruction at that universal level is quite to the place where the leadership team thinks it is. And then you can dig into those individual line items, kind of like we mentioned earlier. So you can, because high quality instruction at the universal level is the area the leadership team sees, is where they're the farthest along. This is where you can look and see, okay, what's the staff really thinking? Well, they think that a lot of the high quality instruction at the universal level is still just partially in place, but they see it as a high priority. And on the other hand, the leadership and organizational structures, this is where the staff thinks that we're farther along, and you can see that actively supported by our principal, they see the majority of the staff sees that is either fully in place or partially in place, there's no one that marked that as not in place. And they also see it as a high priority. And then they see they're supported by a leadership team. You can see that that is highly rated as well as being in place. And they see it as important. So we can kind of get an idea, even not knowing this school, we can kind of get an idea as to what's happening within the school as far as their RTI implementation. So again, as you've looked, you have questions. Now, we are always available too as you get going into this and you start having questions. Either Sarah or I or any of the other technical assistance coordinators from across the state, we'd be happy to help you answer questions, troubleshoot if you're having problems. But we know sometimes looking at those reports, we look at them all the time. You probably only look at them a couple times a year, so we're happy to help you sort of interpret the reports and start to look at them and to dig into them to see, okay, what can we do for our next steps for implementation?
We also have lots of school leadership teams ask then how they can possibly use this data to help inform the decision making while they're taking this school-wide implementation review tool. So just keep that in mind as if you're using both of the assessments that the Wisconsin RTI Center has to offer for either reading or mathematics. Keep that in mind that we're here to help answer those questions for you too and provide you with some guiding questions to help focus your leadership team.
And then we just wanted to provide you with the link to our events calendar. Because we are federally grant funded, we don't do a lot of marketing of our trainings and supports. We are not big, we're not a vendor. So at the RTI Center, we don't do a lot of pushing our opportunities on schools. So we just want to make sure you're aware of our events calendar. That would be the number one place to go to find out what's happening at the RTI Center. And then, of course, our colleagues at the Wisconsin PBIS network, they have a similar events calendar. And again, you can access the events for that there.
Just a reminder to you, in the upper right-hand corner of both the Wisconsin RTI Center website and the PBIS network website, there is a toggle that goes back and forth. Jill's pointing to it right now that you can toggle between the two web pages.
And then, of course, you have technical assistance coordinators for every region of the state. Part of our goal is to provide equitable access to all schools throughout Wisconsin and to answer your questions and to help you out. So we're happy to help, available to you. So if there's ever any questions, please feel free to reach out and ask any of us.
And we just want to thank you for your time today before we ask for any other questions and really commend you for realizing the value in implementation data as we're making system-wide both technical and adaptive changes in our school regarding the implementation of a culturally responsive multi-level system of support. And we also know that this implementation has direct impact on student achievement. So looking at both data sets, your implementation data and your student achievement data together, really as you're implementing your system. So thank you for that. I can hear Jill typing, thinking we might have some questions.
Just, yep, answering a couple of questions here. All right. So with that, does anyone have any additional questions? We've been getting a few of them. Okay. Well, as always, we're happy to help, so please don't hesitate to contact us if there is anything you need. If you get something set up and you need help, or you start collecting data and realize, oh my goodness, I need to start this over again, we're happy to help you troubleshoot anything that happens. So we're just really glad you could join us and happy to provide this information. So with that, we're going to sign off for today and just thank you again.
Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon. And